edit it anyway.
Okay.
That way I don't miss anything.
Lonely as they had to burst the crown.
Yeah. This crown's a little uncomfortable.
Move it a little bit.
Oh, that's I'm jacked. Okay.
No, nobody's sitting at the front. What the hell? Everybody's afraid.
There's no looking forward to.
Exactly.
We're coming.
All right. The troublemakers in the front.
As always.
Okay, if you're not here, raise your hand. There's always two. Hey, you didn't raise your hand this time.
I did.
You did. You did.
You did?
Yes.
Okay, then everything's normal. All right, well, I would like to thank you all for joining us for the 16th, the briefing, safety briefing for the 16th annual Flying Cloud Air Tour. As we do before every event, if we can have a show of hands of folks who this is the first time they'll be participating in the Air Tour here at Flying Cloud. We have a lot of new people, that's awesome. So, the day of the event, I've got a special request for you. Come see me. Try to get there a little toward the beginning of the arrival window, and I'm going to pair you up with somebody who's been doing this for a while. So if questions come up during the day of briefing, you've got somebody you can lean over and ask a question to while we're doing the day of briefing. So just come find me, we'll get you paired up, and we'll get you squared away. How many people is this your 16th? Any 16th? Anybody made every single one? Yeah, no? How about 15th? 14th? That's impressive. All right, 13th? 4th, 10th? All right, so we got some veterans here. Special thanks to Laura for setting the wings credit up for the FAA safety team. Laura, thank you very much for that. So a couple things. Make sure you sign in on the sheet. I see most people have been signing in. I want to make sure that I've got you jotted down that you were here, so I don't chase you around by email between now and Saturday, making sure that you watch the video that Hiroshi's going to produce for us. Also, if you have a cell phone, make sure that the ringer is turned off at this point. Which I'm going to do right now because people are since my phone went off in the middle of the safety briefing.
I was just dialing your number.
I saw that. All right, cool. Real quick acknowledgement. Ben has been leading the Air Tour for for 15 years, and it started with how many planes, guys? Originally?
Handle.
I think it was just about 7.
Just 7 planes, and we've had as many as, I think, over 43 airplanes.
47 is the record.
47 airplanes is the record. So, yeah, Ben's busy. He's got kids. Anybody else have kids? Kids take up a lot of time. So Ben is unable to join us this year, but I know I appreciate his stewardship of the Air Tour and all the help of the people who've been around for so long to make the previous Air Tours a success. And I think with the support of that same group of people, we'll continue to keep the Air Tour going for as long as any one of us can and are able to continue going forward. We have some other thank yous to say. To Kurt at Monarch for once again hosting us in his hangar and giving us gracious use of his space. Making room for us in this hangar is always a little bit of a task. Randy from AirTruck and Doug from Tanis have donated hats again this year. They're actually here. They're under a desk over there, so we'll grab those. So before you leave, make sure you come see me and we'll get you one of the nice embroidered hats. So again, thank you to Modern Avionics and for AirTruck and Tanis Aircraft for donating the hats. And then a humble brag, Christy for doing the shirts again this year and the graphic design. She told me that my little drawings in Microsoft Paint weren't good enough. So luckily she has the veto on that. Again, to Hero and Liz for helping us, as always, with our production and with helping with the shirts and other various things that keep the rest of us in line. It's much appreciated. And Bill, you're an indispensable resource to us, helping us make sure that when we all get here, as organized as pilots always are, of course, that we do get into our assigned spots and lined up so that we can have a nice orderly departure from the field. So Bill, again, thank you for all those efforts. It's not noticed, it's very appreciated. And please do continue to keep me in mind. Also acknowledging the contributions of Flying Cloud Tower for accommodating this mass departure. I mean, they're not used to seeing this many planes depart at once, so the rookies get kind of an experience from that perspective. But Bill has been great for us to work with up there, as has the Flying Club MAC team. Not only Mike Wilson, who's passing the baton on to a new airport manager, but also to the ground crew who will come behind us and do some cleanup, and have arranged for a porta potty to be out there on Saturday morning so that, we're good to go and safe to fly when we leave. And again, an acknowledgement, not a pun, and acknowledging 16 years of hard work of the pilots, because we wouldn't be able to continue doing this if it wasn't a safe event. So your commitment to safety, being here, watching the briefing in advance, and keeping your pilot skills sharp is what makes this safe and possible to continue to do. Weather. All right, this is a picture from a previous AirTour. Right now, the weather's looking pretty good for Saturday. Any cloud or rain is predicted to arrive here in the Twin Cities at or after 5 p.m. Central Time. That trend has held for the last few days in the long-range forecast. Once again, we'll be watching this as we get closer. Obviously, as we get closer on Friday, we'll have a TAF issue. And at Friday afternoon, roughly 4 or 5 p.m., we'll be making the go-no-go decision for the following day. All of our friends that are helping us at Kurdish know that Friday is our go-no-go. And again, our backup date is October 5th. So, any questions about weather? Just an informal question. How many people here still call in a weather briefing before they fly? 50-50. 50-50? There's an informal survey. I'm trying to figure out among friends who's still calling in. I still like to call in. I'm lonely sometimes when I'm talking to somebody on the phone.
They are too.
They are too. You're not wrong. Okay, awesome. I'll be calling in a briefing as well in the morning of. I would still encourage you to do your normal electronic briefing if you do that. Make sure you are familiar with the weather. You are the pilot in command. You are responsible for making your own go-no-go decisions. I'm only making the go-no-go decision for us potentially doing this as a group. Everybody got that? Awesome.
What are your minimums?
Minimums for this flight will be 4,500 foot minimums. So, and beyond 6.
How about the wind, like the last couple of years ago, man, that wind was brutal.
Yeah, so the wind this year, the wind forecast has been sticking to 5 miles an hour. We're getting mile-an-hour civilian forecast right now. So the wind is predicted to be actually very favorable for us out of the west, which helps us in a few ways, which I'll talk about when we get into our route of flight. Right now, our max winds. Number one, you all have personal maximums. Don't feel pressure to exceed your personal limits. Okay. If you're not comfortable to fly, chances are we may be able to find you a seat. Like, let's say, for example, you have a plane that you're only comfortable with a 7-knot or a crosswind component, great, and it's 10 knots, no problem. We're going to see if we can find you a seat in somebody else's plane. Don't push yourself beyond what you're safe to fly. So the personal minimums are really where we kick in. Haven't really thought about what the actual maximums are. I don't think we want anybody, I don't know, Hero, would you like to do the 7-hour return flight?
I think we had 40-mile-an-hour winds coming back from that.
Malin Island, yeah, so the wind's a
It
lot.
was actually 60.
60,
Yeah.
it was crazy.
Yeah. Now, at this point, even with the approaching weather, they're not forecasting abnormally strong winds aloft like they did, like we had a couple weeks ago. We made it from Olivia to Glencoe in about 15 minutes. It's pretty awesome. So, it's a good question. We'll talk about weather minimums. We'll put out kind of a go-no-go from that. But at the end of the day, really, the wind maximum winds, crosswind component, etc., that's on you to determine what you feel safe doing. A few things to bring. Bring your charts, diagrams. What?
Charts.
Charts? You don't know charts? They're these paper things. They have diagrams drawn on them. I guess they're one and the same. Your electronic flight bag. Bring your normal pilot supplies. What you would bring to go on this flight if you're doing it by yourself. Be legal. Make sure you have the documents you need. I like to have two sources of aviation navigation data. I have a phone and an iPad. So I have 2 ways. So what you don't want to do is get halfway between Farmington and Nodine and not know what the frequency is because your iPad ran out of battery because you forgot to charge it the night before. So make sure you got a backup. My recommendation, write down the frequencies you may need or any fixes that you're going to use if you're going to go RNAV and you don't want to punch in the VORs that we're navigating using this time. But have all those tools you normally have at your disposal as you go along. There'll be an updated printed packet handed out or emailed out before Saturday. I will also have a single page front and back that has the aircraft order and altitudes and some route information on the back that I'll hand out on Saturday morning. So if you'd like, print out in advance the packet I'm going to email to you on Friday. And then I will have just the single page back and forth front. If you ordered a shirt or sweatshirt, please pick them up today. Liz, wave your hand back there. Go back and see Liz to pick up your shirts. I'm not going to tell you what Christy said about what she'll do for shirts left over past Saturday, but I was scared. Lunch. Oh.
No, I was going to say, I forgot, I need Aaron Becker back when you're done.
Okay, Aaron Becker, please see. All right. Please see the concierge. All right, White Christmas. Lunches. The lunch today, or Saturday, is going to be at Huckleberry's. Bring $13. If you bring $13, you can hand the cash and you're done. Obviously, you can do a card, get change, and things like that. But the lunch is $13, plenty in advance to have a method of payment for that. That's between you and the restaurant. We're not collecting lunch money as a group. We'll have the porta potty and donuts. Don't worry, I'm bringing those. You don't have to. As far as driving, anybody here going to be driving a vehicle to the briefing location? I'm guessing probably not. All right, cool. Excellent. Non-goals. I don't know what non-goals are. Just bring your regular goals, not your just ignore the non-goals, just bring your regular goals. And for those who haven't been here before, you're probably familiar with Alpha, Bravo, Delta, Echo, these regular taxi lanes, and then you have somebody say spring lane. Well, spring lane is this pavement that parallels Bravo to the south. It's non-movement from the edge of the run-up pad. Bravo 4 is movement. That's important to note. You need to be talking to ground before crossing the line onto Bravo 4. Okay? So we're not doing this as a mass departure. We don't have one clearance for taxi, one clearance for takeoff, one clearance for landing. This is normal departure. It just has to be coordinated in a specific order. Okay, so what are we all going to do holding short of Bravo 4?
Go crazy.
Call ground. All right.
Listen to ATI.
Yes, and grab the ATIS prior to getting to that point. Now, when you arrive, sometime between 8:30 and 9:30 in the morning, you'll enter spring lane from this run-up pad here. So when you arrive to Flying Cloud, if you're transient, if you're based here, you'll call ground and you'll say, Flying Cloud ground, Skylane November 96418. Don't say that, that's my plane. You're going to want to use your own tail number. At India Lane or off 28 left, taxi for the AirTour. And they'll know to send you right here. So they'll give you a crossing or taxi instruction. You enter here. When you start taxiing in, you're going to see some helpers with some marshalling sticks. They're going to wave you to your approximate parking spot. Bill, one of the things that Bill has done for a couple of years now that we've gotten good feedback on, is prepare some signs. So one of the things you'll get on Friday is a diagram of that area with your tail number written down. And then you'll look for a sign. What's that?
That's mine.
Oh, so you'll look for that sign right there. So you look for this sign, you'll want to pull up next to it. Now it's for you, Bill. You'll want to go ahead and pull up next to it and
Are you taking your
park yourself like this. Say again?
Is he taking his L39?
He is not.
I thought that
He's balanced this year.
He's going to the left.
Good balance. So you'll end up parking like this if you're in the grass. There are a few aircraft that have to be on pavement. If you're one of those, just make sure you check in with me tonight so that I can annotate that you need to be on pavement. For example, I don't think we're going to push an amphib onto the grass unless you guys are okay with that. Yeah, I think we got a spot picked up for you like we did last time. So you'll look for your spot. Go ahead and pull in front of it. Bring your tow bar. Have it handy. There'll be helpers to push you back into your spot. Okay? Any questions about lineup?
Did you say annotate?
I don't think I said annotate. I may have said annotate. So again, I want to make sure that you're parked, ready to go for the briefing at 9:30. You can arrive anytime before 9:30. I'll be up there at 7:30. Probably not going to get a lot of help if you arrive right at 7:30. So my suggestion is plan to arrive at the airfield sometime between 10 of 8 and 8:10. Or sorry, 9:10, which gives you time to taxi over, get in line, and push you into your spot. Yes?
Is this going to be the order that we're party?
So I was a little hesitant to put this in here because the order could change if we have additions, deletions, etc. So I will have an official order to hand out to everyone.
Is Bill going to marshal us by the order that we're departing?
He's actually going to hand carry the plane to the front. No, I'm kidding. Surprise!
Now washing away.
The parking order is determined by the departure order, so that we don't have tons of planes passing each other and so on. So, yeah, just like previous years that we've done that, we'll make it so that we don't have a lot of planes passing other planes and that sort of thing. So, any other questions here? Yes.
Not a question, just a suggestion. When you're coming in, just you may want to let Tyler know this is your theory. I'll turn you off the one every night.
Yeah, that's a good point. So one radio call I've heard our friends who come from Crystal or Lakeville or otherwise say is a call, say, Flying Cloud Tower, Super Patrol, 6 miles south of a Prior Lake, inbound for landing for the AirTour. That would be probably a good radio call to make, because then they're also at that point have to say, oh, we're going to send to the left side. Maybe they think you always go to the north side. They'll think all send to the left side is the other shorter taxi. So everybody got that news transient? By the way, how many people are coming from away from Flying Cloud? Awesome. It's great to see a lot of people coming to our airfield for the AirTour. So, any questions for the people who are coming from elsewhere related to that? Yes.
Could you introduce yourself to our sweeties?
Oh, I'm Brad Johnson. I'm a pilot based here at Flying Cloud and Cloud 7 Flying Club up on the north side. I've been flying since 2012, and I've been a part of the AirTour for 7 years, I think. I've missed the last few doing the girls in aviation dating and those event, but yeah, there you go. Yeah, you're welcome. I know what emails you've been getting. They've been coming from me, mostly, except for the ones asking for money. That's somebody else. All right. So again, the lineup. Any questions about what we're looking to do here with lining planes up? One of the other challenges, it has been very wet. So Friday, I'll go out there and look at the property, and if it's real wet and it's going to be hard to get people on and off pavement, what I'm going to tell you is watch the marshals, okay? If the plan changes, they're going to know it. We'll communicate via email, but follow their direction. It's going to be really important to follow their direction. So if something doesn't seem right, if something doesn't seem safe, if there's any kind of confusion, the best thing to do is stop. All right, cool. Good response. So just stop. If you're stopped, people will pick up that something's not right or there's confusion. Someone will come around behind and talk to you and figure out what's going on, or they'll look at the paper and figure out what we need to do. But at the end of the day, you want to be safe, just stop. Safest thing you can do. All right, so this is an example of what we did last time. Don't take a picture of this because this isn't what it's going to be. But you can see what we did in terms of lining planes up. So planning the flight order is a little bit tough. The order this year is based on our direction of flight. So the altitudes in the order is based on the direction of flight. Our transitioning underneath the Bravo, north of Lakeville, south of Buck Hill, and the VFR routes a flight going eastbound. And a whole lot of other advanced math that I just can't get into. So the aircraft order. So you all in your packets have, and it's a rough, this is I'll call it a rough draft order for altitudes and flight order. The principle behind this is exactly the same that Ben has been using for the last 15 years. In fact, it's a template that he has that we built this order off of. The altitudes, the departure order, and the airspeed. So this is all based on the en route airspeed that you provided on the pilot survey form. So if you think that your airspeed you provided was overly optimistic, maybe sometimes that happens, tell me, and then we can adjust it appropriately. Or if you just put a JADO on your Superco, and now your cruise speed is beating, let me know that as well, and we'll make that adjustment. So these numbers are all based on the information you've provided, and providing safe and building separation as you go. Okay. This year we won't have a fast start group because we're not doing the multiple hops. We do have, if you look on there, we do have our first plane is a Debonair, and it is flown by Hero and is #1. Take a picture.
You're welcome, guys.
There are some other planes on there. I'll let you go ahead and find the fun little notes written about those guys. And you can heckle in as you see fit at the end of the briefing. All right. Any questions? Any more questions about aircraft order? So one other thing I'll mention about this as well, the altitudes, these are the altitudes we really do need you flying at, but VFR is see and avoid flying, okay? This isn't an IFR flight plan. You're not flying through the Bravo at a restricted altitude. You're responsible for maintaining separation from other aircraft. Believe it or not, I wasn't able to reserve the entire flight corridor with Farmington Center, or Minneapolis Center. They got grouchy when I said I wanted a TFR with our name on it. So there are potentially, especially if the weather is good, going to be other aircraft flying. The route that we've chosen should keep us away from the majority of airports. We do get a little close to Stanton, but we've tried to get it to where we're climbing away from Stanton as we get in that area. But if you do need to deviate left or right, if you need to change your altitude, go ahead and do so. Announce that. We will have an air-to-air frequency that we should all be on during the tour. Just announce if you're going to be deviating away in case there's somebody ahead or behind you. The other thing we did when we built this list is, to the best of our ability, we did put a low wing and a high wing together where it's less likely for them to see each other coming in. We tried to put them in an order where airspeeds were the same, where a high wing could see a low wing as they're converging to the same altitudes. Okay, we don't want people pancaking together, descending in the parade machine. Right? The big thing is make your radio announcements. Go ahead and, if you need to ascend, if you need to change plans, if you're getting close to someone, if you're going to overtake someone, maybe someone was a little more optimistic on the airspeed than they thought, or maybe they're just coming due on an oil change and they're not getting the performance they expect. If you're going to overtake, go ahead and announce that, let them know, so that they know somebody's coming around. All right? Any other questions? Okay. Cool. All right, we'll continue on. So taxiing out. Start your engine immediately after the airplane in front of you. Be ready early, not late. This isn't, we're not doing the Le Mans. Okay, we're not expecting everybody to start at the exact same time. We've got 30-some aircraft. So the last aircraft doesn't have to sit there for 45 minutes with their engine idling. But we want you to be ready that when the airplane ahead of you is getting ready to go, and you see them start, you should be through the beginning of your start checklist, so that when they're started and ready to move, you're just about started and ready to move. So, any questions about that? Does that make sense? Okay, a lot of veteran pilots, the AirTour, but it does actually tend to work out pretty well. Anybody have any issues with idling? We've had planes in the past that have a really restricted window for idle. I don't think we have any of those planes in here this time. Anybody? Okay. Listen to your ATIS, program your GPS before you get to Bravo 4. Okay? So make sure you've got the ATIS frequency ready to go. My suggestion, have it in one of your radios when you shut down for parking. So when you start up and flip the avionics master on, you start getting that ATIS broadcast right in your ear. Okay? Just a little tip, it's what I've been doing, seems to work pretty well. As far as the GPS, we have radio navigation points. We have Farmington VOR, we have Nodyne in our flight plan. Obviously, you can also punch those into your GPS. My recommendation is also if you're flying with an EFB, get that route plugged in beforehand. Don't be doing that while you're trying to, get out to Bravo 4 and then get off the field. So have as much of that saved and set up as you can ahead of time. It'll help keep us all moving so we can all get out here and there's not 6 planes waiting behind you while you're trying to remember, is it chapter, page, or is it page, chapter, page on the 430? They will not speaking from experience at all. Complete your run-up before takeoff checklist in position on spring lane prior to flying around for taxi clearance. There is not going to be room at the end of 28 left or 10 right for us to do run-ups. And you don't want to blast the poor person behind you while you're waiting in line, or count on the fact that your brakes will hold if you're behind somebody else if your run-up gets away from you. So do that run-up before you go. Hopefully you will have done a very good pre-flight before taxiing over to spring lane, and you're just double checking to make sure that your mags didn't gum up or you don't have carb issues or anything like that in that run-up before you leave. But at the end of the day, if you don't feel like you're prepared to fly, take as much time as you need for your run-up. Just be expeditious and respectful of the people around you. Always err on the side of safety. Alright? This is not a formation flight, except I see 2 pilots back there, and we make an exception for. 2 very nice airplanes that do get to fly in formation and have in the past. But this is not formation flying. This isn't the time to get that close-up air-to-air photography. If you want to do that on the way back, that's entirely up to you. For anybody who hasn't flown formation, this isn't the day to learn it. For those of you who have flown formation before, you know the safety procedures and all the preparation that goes into doing a formation flight. That's your responsibility. My suggestion is plan to do that on the way back, not on the way out. Okay? Any questions about formation? All right. Definitely don't form up on somebody who isn't expecting you. Might change the center of gravity. All right? Each airplane must call ground individually before taxi clearance, even our friends who may be flying formation. You guys know how to fly flying cloud information. You've done it before. Tell them, you guys, I'm not worried about you. For everybody else, normal, regular VFR flight, call ground before you cross the line into Bravo 4. Okay? When you get your taxi clearance, pay attention. Depending on how the wind is that day, if we're departing 28 left, you might get cross 36, you might not get cross 36. Don't assume that because the person ahead of you got, cross 36, as an instruction that you'll get it, because maybe there's another plane coming in that they're going to try to squeak between 2 taxiing aircraft. Don't let expectation bias get you in trouble and have another tick in our runway incursions or on pavement issues here for my pump. So please be careful of that. And like I said, plan to taxi in a Bravo, either 10 right or 28 left. Right now, it's looking like it's more likely 28 left, and that will actually help us a couple ways in just a little bit. So any other questions about taxiing out, running up, preparing before flight, anything that happens before you rotate? Any questions? No? All right, cool. Departing. Please be ready for takeoff and call tower for takeoff clearance immediately upon arriving at the hold short line. Not at the run-up pad, not crossing Echo or Foxtrot when you're number 1, okay? They will assume that if you're number 3 in line for departure, you're ready to go, okay? So the only time you should be telling tower is that you're number 1 for departure, okay? We usually have 1 or 2 people who forget that. It's okay, it's not a big deal. But in the interest of keeping things orderly and them knowing who's number 1, because we might have 3 172s all waiting to go, and I don't know which one I'm talking to. Just make sure you call number 1. The exception to that is you're holding short, you're number 2, and you have a rough engine. Okay? If you have an issue and you're in the sequence and you can't safely get out of sequence and pull over to the little run-up area at either end, that's a good time when you have a break. Say tower, says no 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Number 2 at 10 right. I need to break out. I have a rough engine. They'll go, oh, okay, you're number 2. they'd probably give you something like when safe, you know, exit to the right, run up area. If it is either end, don't think that you're going to backtrack. They might send you across the runway to the north side of the field. Pay very close attention to their taxi instructions, especially with the parallels, that you don't think you're clear across both parallels. Pay very close attention to those taxi instructions, especially for our visitors from other airports. Crossing runways, crossing whole short lines is a huge, sensitive issue here at Flying Cloud. And so far, we haven't had those problems, and we want to make sure that we continue not to have those problems. Okay? Traffic permitting, make your southeastbound turn. We'll go through charts in just a second, and I'll show you this on a chart, but you'll make a southeastbound turn just like any other departure. You don't have to crank and bank 60 degrees to hit a gentle line or anything like that. Do it safely, exit the pattern when safe. You'll see the traffic ahead of you. This all ends up working out well, just maintaining that separation. Climb to your assigned altitude. Caution, avoiding class Bravo airspace. We're going to be flying along the 2,300 foot shelf for a bit during our departure to the southeast. It's really easy if there's a west wind to get pushed into that shelf. So a lot of you are going to be at 2,000 initially. So especially important for the 2,200, the 2,400, and the 2,700 initial altitudes. Watch that Bravo shelf. Don't let yourself accidentally get pushed into the side of that 2,300 foot ring. There are a few visual cues that I like to use. I'll put those up here in a second to help you make sure that you don't accidentally do that. When you're more than 5 miles from Flying Cloud, really when you get out of the Delta airspace, you can go ahead and change to 122.75. I would advise it may be useful to monitor the air lake frequency as you're passing air lake, the CTAF there. Air lake CTAF is
123.0.
123.0. Just in case somebody happens to be sneaking in from the north. The nice thing is the traffic patterns on the south side of the field. We're transiting on the north side, and David's on the south side. That's for me, not for Dave. So that helps, but sometimes somebody will come squeaking in from South St. Paul, or they'll be coming around from Crystal and transition Flying Cloud. So you just want to be aware of that. Just monitoring that 123.0 would be helpful. But our air-to-air frequency this year is the official air-to-air frequency, 122.750, not fingers. You guys you might use a different discrete frequency for air-to-air or not. It's up to you guys, but okay, you're gonna be in there too. So that'll be the frequency that you use to let somebody know if you have to change your altitude, if you are overtaking somebody, that's the frequency to use. The only thing I would ask, it's okay to have a little healthy ribbing on each other while you're flying and some chatter between each other. Just don't recite the Constitution over this frequency during the flight because you may be blocking it for somebody else using it. No Chewbacca noises, no meows. Yeah, none of that. Probably not a good idea. Cool. Any questions on the departure?
I don't know, Bill.
Yes.
I've got a single radio and I can't monitor the frequency while I'm listening to it, so I'm going to stay on 122.75, but I don't have the ability to hear air lakes traffic, so
just be extra vigilant then. So really, see and avoid is even more important for you. One of the things you could do is make a traffic call as you're entering that area, just advising you're going to the north, and then flip back to 122.75.
okay.
So think of it as how you might transition a busy airspace how you are today.
Yeah, I'll probably talk to people in my same kind of the first group here, just have them, if they're listening to report something to me, probably that's the
And that would work too. We're all friends, we're all doing this together, so work with your neighbor. It's a good question. Yes?
One comment and question, I guess.
Sure.
You spoke to Minneapolis Approach about this, so they know what's coming. They're not going to be running practice approaches into Air Lake or Flying Cloud. They're going to push 40 airplanes.
Yep, yeah, so my friends at Mini Approach, they know this is going on. They appreciate that we now give them a heads up. And they also appreciate that our first destination is more nautical miles than the amount of participants we have, which I think Tower also appreciates. We learn something new every year, right? We get better and better, so yes, yep. Okay, the routes. For those who haven't done it before, this is a little bit of a snapshot of what it looks like. with us all heading out. Well, this was, I believe, the question before was about the winds aloft, what the limits might be. Here, how long did it take you guys to get back?
A total of 6.5 hours.
6.5 hours, yes. Well,
Still en route.
Still in town.
this is
We left the
life-
airplane at the airport.
Life model decoy here, representing him. So, be prepared for your next arrival. So, you know, get your head in the game when you're getting closer, probably passing lacrosse. Like, start thinking about what your plan is. Think about your left versus right for your traffic, what the wind is doing, so that you're executing your plan as you get toward Prairie du Chien, rather than you're 2 miles out and you're like, oh, which side of the runway do I fly to land? We want to have that figured out ahead of time. Air to air again, 122.75. Well, you're more than 10 nautical miles from airports. Maintain your assigned altitude unless otherwise necessary. We talked about that. Biggest thing, watch for other planes. Again, this is not formation. This is not IFR. This is not TFR protected airspace. Your VFR pilot during the event, see and avoid. There we go. We are not doing any intermediary activities this year, so there won't be any nerve drops or flower drops.
Maybe extra help.
I'm scared. This is an overview of our route of flight. We'll get out of the way so you guys can see it. Coming off Flying Cloud, avoiding that 2,300 foot ring toward Farmington, notice north side of Bear Lake. Direct to Nodine. I'll say direct-ish. I would say if you wanted to fly to Red Wing and then down to Winona, maybe do that on the way back, because now it screws a bit with the spacing on our way into Prairie du Chien. But don't feel like there's anybody who's going to tattle on you if you're a quarter mile off with a gentle line. Okay? So don't feel too bad like that. For example, I think we go past Welch Village. If you wanted to go over a mile or two and look at Welch on your way, as long as you do it safely, that's going to be just fine. Main thing is roughly follow this route. Originally, we had a plan to potentially go from here over to Prescott and then really follow the river, but there's two reasons we're not doing that. One is for our friends toward the bottom of the list, it becomes a very long air tour. Second thing, what happens this time of year? Migrating waterfall in the vicinity of everything, especially the river. So if you are going to fly in the river, and we have some folks that I think are planning to do that on the way back, that's awesome. Get some really cool pictures. Just be aware that we've started to see the Canada geese migrating south. So just be aware of birds and things of that nature. All right, a couple of things to point out in that first little rubber band between Flying Cloud and Farmington. Here is that 2,300 foot shelf. Here's Prior Lake. Here's Air Lake. One of the things I like to use as a visual cue that I know for sure I'm on the 2,300 foot shelf is the big 169, 101, 13 interchange. So that's just off to the southeast from here. If I'm roughly over that or south of it, I know that I'm away from the 2,300 foot shelf. Now, further down, how do I know that I'm going to end up north of Air Lake on this route? If I'm north of Prior Lake, which we can see right here, then I'm going to be in that good spot, right? So I like to use Prior Lake. Now I live in this area, so I know these things, and the lifetime at Hy-Vee. I know that if I stay right in this area, Hy-Vee is now here, Lifetime Fitness T is here, a kind of a wide shot, Savage Water Tower is here, then I know that I'm on the right side of the line that's going to keep me out of people who might be flying in on an approach, like an RNAV approach to Lakeville. Another visual cue that I like to use that keeps me out of the Bravo is Buck Hill. Buck Hill is this 1195 here. I'm 99.9% sure it's this little hill here. There's an antenna up there. I know that if I stay south of Buck Hill, I'm south of the 35W, 35E split, and where 42 is. Again, I'm out of that 3,200 foot shelf. So these are my personal visual cues that I use as a VFR pilot, watching out the window rather than burying my head in ForeFlight or my GPS. And because we're low, because we're going around the Bravo, having eyes out the window is critical to avoiding any conflicts in the air. Okay. And then again, coming into Air Lake, anybody not seen the Farmington VOR? Awesome, so you've all seen it, so you know what it looks like. It looks like a bowling pin. So when you're going past Lakeville, it's in this field right here, basically directly off of Lakeville. Next visual cue, we're going to be going past Nodine. Brad, why'd you choose Nodine? Well, it sounds fun. Well, it does sound fun. And I like to say Odie, even though it's not Odie. But if we make the turn at Nodine, it keeps us out of the La Crosse Class Delta airspace, which goes all the way up to 3,200 feet. So when you're heading toward a river, and you're in awe of the beauty and splendor of the Mississippi, and you're making that turn at Nodine, make sure you don't venture too close to the river and visit our friends in the cross. They're not expecting us. It won't be appreciated. I'm going to call them to let them know we are coming through so that they, same reason we were talking about Lakeville and the Alps approach, they're not running a commercial jet and a downwind on this side. They're bringing down on the side.
Do they have radar?
I think they might have a center feed.
Okay.
But you'll get regular commercial traffic, even on a Saturday into this airfield. So.
You just get too close, just use 508.
508.
Trust me, they'll never see him. Trust me. It doesn't fly that far.
I thought we were still using 55 Foxtrot. Any questions about La Crosse?
It's flower.
Oh, 55 Flower, that's right. I can go back to that picture. No, I don't. Any questions about the La Crosse area, flying along the river, this part of the process? Nope? Alright, cool. Next one, arriving at Prairie Sheen. Fly the traffic pattern for your aircraft. We don't have any jets. We don't have any high performance that I think need to hit initial overhead or anything like that. Anybody need initial overhead or anything like that? Nope? Awesome. If you're watching us online and you do, please let me know. Make your initial descent call for the field. When you are going to descend from your 3,000 or 3,500 foot assigned altitude, make that call on 122.75 so that the planes that are near you know that with your call sign to let them know you're coming in. Now, one thing that I have to do this, but this is maybe a tip that I like. When I made that call last year tour, I called saying, Skylane, November 96418, white and orange, descending, blah, 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 blah. Because if somebody's following you and they can see the color of your aircraft, they're going to go, oh, it's the high wing with the orange and white paint job. They're not going to go, okay, I got to go next to it and see what the tail number is. So adding that little color to that also helps add a little bit of safety and awareness. Just a tip. Make your normal radio calls in the pattern. Upwind, crosswind, downwind, base, final. And go around. We'll talk about go arounds in a second. So make your normal radio calls as you approach the airfield. Switch to Unicom far enough away like you normally would approaching that airfield. Not 40 miles away when you're approaching that airfield. All right, we have left traffic for both, for the main runway that we plan to use. It's runway 2911. There is a second runway at this airfield. Runway 14, math is hard, 32. That sound right? Cool, all right. It's a long runway. Does anybody need more than 3,999 feet? 3,999 feet, anybody?
For landing?
Yeah.
Maybe me.
Well, you need like 4,000 feet to go down on one leg, is that what's going to happen? So what's one? All right, cool. So we don't have anybody coming in. Bill, we did have, for Natasha's sake, we did have a long runway. The runways are in great shape at this airport, so we should be in good shape. I'll bring up a diagram of the airport in a second as well. We shouldn't have to back taxi, and I'll talk about that when I bring up the diagram. The published traffic pattern altitude is 1460. The go-around caution, if we're landing on runway 11, you're going to be turning a crosswind down at that end of the field. And if somebody needs to go around, they're going to be climbing right into that crosswind. So if you have to go around, make that call as soon as you make that decision. And then when you decide, when you execute your go around, know that planes should be doing that crosswind leg between 14 and 1500. Also know that not everybody's eyes are at the same level, so that could easily become 1300 to 1600. Okay, so don't count on everybody laser flying 1460 if you have to go around. If you have to go around, go around. But just be aware that that is the case. If that is the case, safely execute your go around like you would at a normal busy day at Buffalo where there's a lot of planes in the hangar. Go down, turn a crosswind, and safely rejoin the downwind sequence. Any questions or comments or thoughts on go-arounds? I want to make sure we talk about it.
Did you say you have an image of the?
Yes, we'll bring that up in the next.
So maybe talk about that again, we
Yeah.
have that image.
Absolutely, absolutely will. And it's, if we're landing 1-1, then it's more of a concern than if we're landing runway 29.
Wouldn't it be better to do your crosswind midfield then? Or you want to just give yourself more room?
We end up needing more room. So as planes arrive, regardless of how much planning goes advanced to get that separation, we all do start to bunch up. So expect that your upwind or downwind may be extended to create room. Okay. Now, one of the interesting things about Prairie du Chien is there are hills to the south of the field, but they're south enough that the only people who would be concerned is if you're flying at IFR in IFR conditions with a poor climb performance. For us, they're not a concern like you might find at Richland Center or some of the other airports where the hills are really close to the airfield. But it's just something to be aware of that they're there. Take a look on your sectional, take a look at the airport chart. For us, VFR should not be a concern whatsoever. Okay? But that's why we don't do midfield turns, is we end up using that extra upwind or downwind to create the spacing for the airfield. Okay. Now let's say you get down there and it's your first time and you just feel over your head. It's okay. Divert. There's no shame in diverting. Nobody's going to have a little sheet of paper that has your name on it and have any tick or negative marks. If you do divert, maybe send me a note so that I know that you did, so that we know that you're safe and we don't send a search party for you. But if it just doesn't feel like your day, it is absolutely okay to pull out of the line and go have lunch in La Crosse. They have a crew car at that airport, and the field is pretty friendly, as an example. But if you do go to La Crosse, call tower before you enter their airspace. Back taxi is only, I'll cover that in a second, and then our number one is going to be there to help get our lineup going when we arrive. So here is the airfield. Again, there's 2 runways. We're using runway 11 and 29, not 1432. If you end up landing on accidentally, just make sure you make that radio call and be careful across the runway. But we're planning to use 11 and 29. Nice parallel taxiway, except for this last little bit here. If you do happen to roll out, which again is okay, don't get a flat tire, don't wear your brakes out trying to make that turn off. Stop safely. Enter the spot, the turnaround spot here. And because everybody's going to be doing an amazing job of making radio calls, listen for that opportunity to back taxi. Again, think of it like a busy, untowered VFR airport. Okay? In past years where there wasn't a parallel taxiway and there was maybe a culvert, we would arrange it so we would bunch 3 up and then send the rest down. I'm anticipating with this much runway and with the aircraft that we have flying, maybe the Baron and maybe the V-tail Bonanza. I think, Keith, you feel pretty comfortable stopping before this taxiway here. I think everybody else there should be able to probably stop by that taxiway, but again, we don't want blown tires and screwed up brakes and people in the grass. So if you have to go down, there is a little waiting spot to turn around.
Why are you looking at me?
You're the advanced group, you can take the airport. All right. As far as parking, this is at Faribault. You guys did a great job of figuring out the parking on your own. We're going to continue that tradition. We've got a little help to get us started this year. The airport manager let us know that it is perfectly okay to park in the grass along the taxiway here. He said it's actually pretty decent to the surface. Make sure you've got that tow bar with you so that you can push yourself back into the grass. If you are going to stop and push yourself back into the grass, watch for propellers of aircraft that are taxiing along that way. Okay? The airport is not notably closed for us. It's an open airport, so you may have other transient or other base tenants trying to come and go from the airport as well. Be courteous. We don't want to be those jerks from Flying Cloud. We want to be courteous visitors to our new friends from British. So, those of you who need pavement parking, send me a note just reminding me that you need pavement parking. You're going to be here on this actually fairly large ramp over here. We'll make sure that Hiroshi has those tail numbers and we have them noted down. We'll fill the ramp first and then start parking along this here. There is avgas available at this airport. The airport manager let me know that they would make sure they had plenty of avgas available. And that is at the little terminal building. All right, any questions about parking in arrival? No? Yes.
If you could go back one slide.
Yes.
Talk about that go-around procedure you're talking about.
Oh, yes, yeah, okay. So, if we're landing runway 29, left traffic, downwind, base, final, go around procedure, go around, turn a crosswind, and rejoin. You'll turn that crosswind when you see that safe gap. Okay, so when we're arriving, if the wind is out of the west, which it's likely to be, make sure you got that nice wide base. Watch the traffic. If they need to extend, go ahead and extend. Keep extending. Keep extending. Turn that base, and then final. Give yourself as much space and room as you need. Okay? We're not up against another airspace that I'm aware of with this airfield. If you go around on runway 29, go around, climb, join that, that down and see. Where it gets tricky is if we're landing 11, we're entering a left upwind for runway 11, which means we're, again, south of the field, turning a crosswind, downwind, base, final. It's unlikely that that'll be what we're doing, because the winds look like they're favoring the west. But again, if you do have to go around, be cautious that you're going to have aircraft turning crosswind down here at traffic pattern altitude. A survey. Who starts their descent for landing midfield? So if you're on your downwind, who starts their descent to land midfield downwind? Yeah. What's that?
Depends on the plane, not the one I'm flying.
Okay. Depends on the plane performance. Some people like to do power. Some people have to do power off 180s to land. Lynn, for example. What I'd like anybody need to begin their descent to land before midfield downwind? No? So everybody else is after midfield downwind? Is that? Okay, cool. Just make sure you don't descend below traffic pattern altitude until you're safely on downwind. Okay. If you need to descend sooner, let's say you just decide you want to descend at 1 foot per minute, which would be a bad idea, by the way. Make sure that you don't turn that crosswind until you're set up to start descent somewhere on or down. Does that make sense? Any questions about that? Cool. Does that help with the, okay, awesome. Lunch. It's a short walk to Huckleberries. Here's our ramp. It's a sidewalk down the road, across the rock here. We're reading right here at Huckleberries. Again, they have a full menu available if you don't want to do the sandwich, soup, salad, dessert, bar. The price for that is $13, which includes the food, the tax, and the tip. So, all together, $13, you're good to go. Or if you have a reason, you can also order off the menu. This is all on your own. We're not doing a cash collection and writing one check. You'll take care of the person who takes care of you when we get there. And there isn't a time that we start eating either. I don't want anybody to feel like they have to be there at a certain time or they're going to miss lunch. They know we're going to be arriving over the course of an hour to 2 hours. And because Bill's not doing a flower drop, we don't have an award this year. So you're not going to miss an award if you have to take time. All right, departing. Leave at your own pace. We're not doing a structured departure procedure. It's a normal VFR, or if it's IFR, you can do IFR as well, but it's a normal, on your own, like you would on any other Saturday flight home. After you're starting your engine taxi control short of the runway, you can do your run up there, two-way operations, two-way operations, I have no idea what that is. Okay. That's an artifact from one of the previous years, I think, where we had a back taxi. Take off, depart the area, of course, flying cloud, have fun. Again, 122.75 is the FAA designated frequency. All right.
That's never gonna go away, is it?
All right, we have reached the end of the briefing. Any questions, comments, concerns, things that you think we missed? This is my first year doing this for you guys, so I don't want to miss something. So don't feel shy. If there's something you feel like we missed, this is the time to bring it up so that we're all safe.
Is fuel self-serve or is it, do they spread it?
It's self-serve, they're encouraging. Yeah. That's a good question.
You get traffic pattern at 1460, which is 800 above ground versus 1,000.
Yes.
And what about the crossover? You have left traffic going to 500 above that then, as the crossing come in? Or how do you want to do that?
Oh, so you want to be established either on your downwind or your upwind at traffic pattern. Be at that traffic pattern in that leg. So I think, so most of these remote fields, 800 foot is the standard traffic pattern. You know, we take advantage of a 1,000 foot traffic pattern here, but most of these untowered remote fields, the published traffic patterns are at 1,400. So I hear your question. Now we have a smaller margin if somebody has to go around and underneath a crosswind plate. Is that kind of what you're?
Yeah, okay, so 800,000 going to 800, landing to the north.
Yeah.
It's fine. How do you want us to enter if we're landing to the southeast?
Upwind. So again, if you're coming from this direction,
On 1-1, yeah.
so you're going to land on 1-1,
Straight down.
you're going to land in upwind, crosswind, base, I'm sorry, upwind, crosswind, downwind, base, flat.
Not crossing the midfield with anybody.
Correct. No midfield crossings. Chances are pretty good we'll have enough traffic in the pattern that a midfield crosswind is just not going to work because we'll need the space.
I can cut you off.
Yeah. Don't cut anybody off. Be courteous.
Question, just, you're hoping to land on 2-9, I can see that. Are you talking about taxiing down to the end and then coming in that taxiway? Or are you hoping to get off at the big parking area there first and get off there?
So if we're landing 2-9, yep. Most aircraft will be down and stop and taxiing to this this turnoff here.
That's what you're planning.
Yeah. Now, unless you're, well, you're not flying the
Avid?
Avid, so.
I'll be turning around this.
Yeah. So we do have a Taylor craft. We do have we have a couple of Cessna 120s. I don't think anybody's going to make this safely. If you do, I'll buy you a sucker because it's a really impressive. So just know though, if you slow to a stop here, somebody's coming behind you. This is a good point. Don't stop here. Don't come to a stop and then decide to taxi on. There's going to be somebody behind you, unless you're the last one, and even then, I'd assume somebody's probably behind you. Don't feel like you have to do an Oshkosh, keep your speed up sort of scenario to get off the runway, but move with purpose to get off on that taxiway. Okay? Move with safe purpose there on that taxiway. Okay. Any questions about that? Does that make sense?
What's the distance between the start of the runway and that first turnout?
So it's a 4,000 foot runway, so I'm going to estimate that it's probably 3,600?
That was a good guess.
Yeah, that's a good guess. That's what I was thinking, it's probably about 3,600 feet.
Oh, I meant the short distance.
Oh, the little distance?
500.
500 foot? It sounds like somebody's throwing their gauntlet down.
He wants that sucker.
In one go.
Oh my goodness. All right. I should reveal that. All right. Any other questions? Yes. Say again? Okay, come see me afterwards. We'll write it in. We'll make sure we get you all set up. Okay?